My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and today I have with me Arnold Beekes, and he is a brain fitness trainer. The first 20 years in technology and organizational leadership. He then went to 20 years in psychology and personal leadership, and his next 20 years he intends to continue helping others with brain fitness. So you have a very long span in each of your careers, Arnold, so I'm really excited to see how that panned together to get to where you are today. So a big welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you've kind of evolved into brain training and what your journey kind of looked like.
I I recently checked it because I get that question more often. Is like, when did you start thinking about working on brain fitness? And I could find the exact date, which was in September 2019, when I was on my bike on my way back from a mental health institution together with my sister. I was helping my sister to deal with that institution. She has been diagnosed with depression, and their, well, let me call it, treatment were not helping. On the contrary, it was making things worse. So I was helping her to discuss what to do with the management of the mental health institution. That was one point. And while we were waiting outside for that meeting to get our meeting started, she saw some people where she was in the same classes, and she went there, and I stayed over. And then we went home, and I went home, and home meant I had to go to my mother's house where I was living, because I was the care provider of my mother with dementia and Parkinson. So when I was on my bike, I was like, I got now two examples of mental illnesses not being treated at all or not helping at all, making things worse. That is when I get the idea for brain fitness, is like, really need to work on prevention and optimization, because the moment you are in that situation, there's a very low chance that you can get any help. So that is when the idea is like, Arnold, everything you should be working on brain fitness, just like body fitness.
Yeah. And I like that it evolved from just kind of seeing the breakdown in mental health treatment, I guess, more than anything, and how people can get to that stage and not have the right support and get to those extremes where there is suicide and all the other things that come from that. And yeah, I like that you just went, oh, all right, maybe we need to train the brain.
Yeah, well, at least take matters in your own hands, and take control of your life, rather than it's like, no, well, everything's fine, and by the time it happened, they will help me. Well, they won't. So that is really the essence.
Mm. So from that point where you went, okay, we need to do something to train the brain now. How did your process then develop to where you are today with the program that you have?
Well, first, before that, the time I would say I developed for myself. a concept what I call upgrading your brain. I'm totally convinced that every person can do and be and perform at a much higher level than what they're currently doing, because we are now limited by what I call straitjackets.
Mm.
If you are wearing a straitjacket, you cannot do what you cannot function optimally, and that is what we do. That is those straitjackets are limiting us. They were limiting me, and I unconsciously then, but now very young, I started to remove those straitjackets, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I was interested in that, and like, oh, I didn't know that was part of me. And so that had evolved that optimization part in the sense of upgrading your brain. So that was the part which I had already worked on, basically on myself as the guinea pig. And then I added that to the brain fitness and things like, hey, there's so much more what you can do from a prevention point of view when working, and that's what I together blended together in the last years into one program, which is now a training program, and which basically can take steps. I can go over it if you want to. It is quite a lot of of work and things, but I've been coaching people for 50 years, so I immediately, when things worked for myself, I started applying it in my one-on-one coaching. Is like, hey, it worked by myself. Let's try if it worked with someone else. And all these people were totally growing, well, to unimaginable levels. So I was like, okay, it doesn't only work with me; it also works with other people.
Yeah, and I like that, how you were talking about first upgrading your brain, because when we do the upgrading, it almost sounded like, when you're going through that process, that you were stripping away all these fears and limitations that you put on yourself, because often we think we can't do things because of, how we're exposed to things through our upbringing or things that are said to us. So I find that's really amazing that, you found a way to actually shift through that and then link it to, the brain training part where, it's like a whole system, because often I feel from what you were sharing that if you don't work on getting rid of those limiting beliefs first, well, not getting rid of them, but being aware of them and shrinking them so they're not as impactful on your thoughts and your life, you can't actually train your brain because you're going to keep doubting everything that comes through. Is that right?
Yeah, I use the example of like almost a year ago there were the Olympics in Paris,
Mm.
and if you look at all the gold medal winners, I ask people and say, how many of them were in a straitjacket? And they look at me like, what's that a strange question? And like, of course nobody has a straitjacket when you win a gold medal. Yes, but that needs to be the case for you as well.
Mm.
Yeah? We cannot perform up to our gold medal level if we are wearing a straitjacket, and I've identified currently 35 different straitjackets.
Mm.
So you have to remove them before you can perform to your level. Yeah, so that's another way of saying what you just said. Yeah, it's like
Mm. Yeah.
in a straitjacket, I cannot run the 100 meters under 10 seconds. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but when I removed it, it's like, oh, I can run much faster than I knew.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then, and then how that evolves. So, what are some changes that you've seen in your clients since helping them apply these methods and, letting them utilize it in their life?
Yeah, I've been doing that on my one-on-one coaching, but because mental illnesses are exploding at the moment
Mm.
in the world, and I was like, I need to reach more people. So that is why I now, everything what I did, I merged it into a 15-week training program so I can at the same time reach more people.
Yeah, and what sort of changes did you see from people who have done the program and completed it?
Well, let me give an example. It's a person I met in a co-working space, and he was then an employee for a small company. And what I noticed is that, his boss was also working there, and every time he had some new ideas or suggestions. We could improve this, we could improve that, and why don't we do it like this, and whatever. And every time and I could see that because we were in a co-working space. So he went to that person, and every time it was like, nope, 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 not gonna do that. And so you're smiling now, but it like he was typically not smiling. And if it happens once, and for the rest of the times, it was like, yeah, good idea. It was always like that. So I started talking with him. Is like, hey, you get these very good ideas. You want to improve the business and then the way you deal with clients and everything. And we started thinking. So in the end, he did the program with me on a one-on-one basis, and the result is that he quit his job.
Yeah.
He started his own business together with a partner,
Yep.
which is now a SaaS company, a software as a service company. And now he has clients from Australia to the US to the Netherlands. So it's it and if and he's becoming my friend now. It's like I talk with him every week, and it's like it's a total different person I talk with. Yeah, it's like a person who was really, yeah, every time, because that's what the boss do is no, 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 not good, no, no, no. Yeah, you feel like, yeah, you shrink. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's like, he's doing things with AI, and expanding his business, and writing a book, and doing all kinds of things. And I'm like, oh, it's so nice to see, yeah, that a person who was literally limited by himself and by his environment now is a successful entrepreneur, but also he's more healthy. Yeah, his relationship goes better and everything. It's like totally incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's such a beautiful example, Arnold, because often it's our own limiting beliefs that makes us think that we have to stay in the situation that we're in, or that we can't go out on our own, or that we don't have the ability to do that. But when you start to take those away and strip them away, and like you said, train your brain up, upgrade your brain, then we're limitless and we're infinite beings. But often we forget that. Like we forget how we can create anything and manifest and create intentions, and anything can happen in our lives, but we've been so conditioned to believe that nope, this is your life, you just have to put up with that. But when you have the courage to actually be the change you want to see, and work and do the work, that's the other part, right? You can't be passive. You have to be proactive in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's nice for the person himself, but also for his environment, for his family, for other people. Yeah? So it's like, yeah, yeah. Well, you just quoted Gandhi, but it's like, if I change, the world change. It's like you have a much bigger and much positiver impact on the rest of the world.
Yeah. And there's been like so many studies too. We've been talking about it with when, because I do coaching with my coach, and my coach has been saying, there's been so many studies when you choose to elevate yourself and put yourself in rooms with other people who are also elevating the world or elevating each other, you all lift each other up. Even in a workplace, you all lift each other up. Whereas when you're with people who keep bringing you down and making you negative, then you all, like, everything just drops down too. So it's really important, when you do all this work as well, to find the right support and to find the right people to help you along your journey. And like you said, now you've got this really beautiful relationship with your client, because you do you form like a partnership with them, and because you are allowing them to see their infinite potential that they weren't able to see, and sometimes it's someone on the outside that needs to point that out.
In a lot of cases, it unfortunately is. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like before this part of my journey, I had a corporate career,
Yeah.
and I, well, I think I could easily see it in other people because nobody saw it in me. But it's like, man, yeah, it's like all people have so much more potential, but you are so limited by your straitjackets that they, yeah, it's like you're stupid, you're not good enough, you're this, you're that, and so you need an outsider to say, hey, I think you can do more.
Yeah.
I think you're very talented. I think I love your social skills. And it is, and then you give some examples, and they're like, really? Yeah. Because our whole society, and especially the business world, but
Mm.
it's also the education world, is focused on what you're doing not good.
Yeah.
Yeah? It's always focused on mistakes, on the faults. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you at school you done a test or an exam, and it's like they don't say you got 7 good, no, they say you got 3 faults.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything is always focused on the negative. Yeah? And that makes that you automatically think is like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Every person I meet in the whole wide world is saying, you have the feeling you're not good enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what everybody feels. But that is the way of conditioning in our educational system, in the business. Everything is focused on that. So when someone said, and focus on your good points, what you can do, and gives you example as like, hey, I got the feeling you can do much more. It's like you're holding yourself back because you're afraid of criticism.
Mm.
They're like, yeah, you're right. And I've seen that in any environment, and that is why I think, unfortunately, we cannot see it as well because others, we always think we're not good enough. So that is kind of your default setting. So you need someone else who says, no, you're really good. You're really good in this and this and this, and I think you can do more.
Mm. And yeah, and it's so funny too because we are also conditioned not to celebrate our achievements. Like we forget to celebrate, like, I personally went through this where it was like, hey, I wrote a book and I submitted it to a publisher. I don't know what's going to happen. But instead of like celebrating the fact that I wrote a whole novel, I just was like, okay, I'll just do the next thing. And it's like, no, hang on. If you don't celebrate it, you don't get the dopamine hit. So then your brain and your body's not going to be rewarded to keep wanting to do things like that. So, like you said, we're conditioned to look for the errors, for the mistakes, but then we're also conditioned that failure is a bad thing. Whereas failure is a point of growth and change and to learn from. And if we can change and flip that perspective, then you can grow infinitely as a human. You're never going to get better if you do things perfectly all the time. You need to, it's like riding a bike. You learn that if I pedal this way, I'm going to fall off. But if I pedal this way, I'm going to get momentum and keep going.
Totally agree. But it's like recently I've been checking this with people and they react quite emotionally. I said, do you know about the inner critic? And they say, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, it's that voice inside of me. He was always criticizing and always blaming and complaining and doing his thing. And it's that's why the inner critic is worse towards ourselves. Yeah?
Mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if I ask people, it's like, if you say what you say to yourself in a negative way, you say it to other people, well, you get half of the time into a fight because it's really horrible what we say to ourselves. Yeah? And but that is kind of we think it's a protection mechanism against all the criticism. So, well, okay, let me have the criticism because I already did it myself. Right? So, but why don't we change the inner criticism, inner critic, into an inner cheerleader? Where we start as like, hey, Catherine, you wrote a whole novel.
I know.
You've never done that before.
I know.
Really, really good job. Yeah?
Thank you, Arnold. Thank you. I know, exactly. And I 100% agree with you. If that little inner critic, and there's that saying that we're our own worst critic, which is 100% true, because we're always the hardest on ourselves. And I know I'm guilty for that because I'm such a high achiever. Guilty, and and it's just like, hey, how about you actually acknowledge some of the things that you did? And something that was really cool that my coach brought in was every Sunday we celebrate our wins for the week. And it's funny how, like, when you sit there and you're like, oh, actually, I did a lot of amazing things this week, but you just kind of brush it away. And, your inner critic's like, oh, but we can do better, we can do better, we can do better, instead of like being like, yeah, let's celebrate that. Woohoo.
Yeah, but I'm literally, I'm just living here by myself in a country where I knew nobody, I don't speak the language, I've never been here. There's another group of people here who are cheering Arnold. It's like, I made a habit of like, I literally do this, I tap myself on the shoulder and said, Arnold, really good job. Hey Arnold, that interview went really well. Yeah?
I love that.
That's what I'm doing, and it really makes my life so much more nicer. It's like, I'm not dependent on other people or what they say or do because they're not there. But it's like, hey, I do it myself. And it's like, hey, oh, I can do that as well. Yeah, it was like you said, I just wrote a novel. Wow, that's really, because I've written a couple of non-fiction books, and I'm now writing a combination of fiction and faction book I just wrote before our meeting, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of difficult because I'm in non-fiction. Is always got to get the structure right and the steps and the content, and it's got to be. But now it's like, oh, I wrote something like a problem. Oh, what can we do? So it like, I'm using my fantasy, and I'm like, oh, that's fun to do because it doesn't have to be something true or whatever. It's like, I just use my fantasy, but I'm like, what is new to me? But hey, I can do this. And you would have asked me 5-10 years ago, whatever, it's like, Arnold, you're gonna write a part of a fiction book. You're like, no way, never gonna do that. And so it's like, if you keep on complimenting yourself, and it don't have to be those big things. It can be small things. It's like, hey, I did my mobility exercises this morning when I got out of bed. I did my morning walk. Hey, I prepared a nice lunch. So more start to value the small things and not only the big things. It's like the small things is also something like, hey, Catherine, you did something nice.
Yeah. And I think that's, it's funny because I have a few friends / clients, and I actually will just message to them, especially I have a few that are single mums because their husbands passed, unfortunately. But, it's like, hey, I just want you to know that if no one's told you, like, you're actually doing a really good job. You're keeping it all together, you're still going. And sometimes we need to be that cheerleader for other people until they can be the cheerleader for themselves.
Yeah, that is why, like I said, it's the same story. Is like, wherever you can compliment other people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be only as like if they get a promotion or they get married or they sold their house. No, small things, just small things. And do that also for yourself. Yeah, and if you do this, it's like you vibrate a total different energy.
Yeah, exactly. And they've actually done all the research. I love the Heart Math Institute. They actually did research on people doing kind acts and saying kind things to people. And they showed not only did the person receiving the kind act, like their energy and their vitality and their health actually improved, but the person doing the act improved as well. Like, so it was definitely a reciprocal interaction. And it doesn't cost anything to be kind. It doesn't cost anything to just say something nice or hold a door open or hold the lift. It doesn't take that much to just be more human, for lack of better description, because it really is being human, because you're coming back to your heart and having a proper connection with somebody over just a simple thing as even a smile.
Yeah, but the advantage of that is that there are much more of these small things which you can do in your life than the big things. The big things is only a handful or 5 to 10, which is going to happen over your lifetime. These small things happen every day. And so, by the way, I just a few months ago I read the Art Math book, so I'm practicing the Art Math exercises. So I'm totally aware of that. But what I'm doing, and I started doing this already years ago. Every early morning I go for a walk. Yeah? It's good for my brain, but it's also good for my body because my heel is destroyed through a car accident. So now, I need to get moving after sleeping because otherwise I cannot walk anymore. So what I notice is like I walk the same route every day. At some point you start to recognize people. I see the same people at the same time at the same spot. So what I do is when I see them, and I say in English, I don't even know, I'm in Romania, I don't know the language. It's like, I say good morning, or I wave. Right now, if you would go with me, I got 5, 6 people who all know me, and they already start waving when they see me. They start greeting me. They even say, "How are you today?" It's like, yeah. And I know it's like that making my morning walk really very pleasant, but also that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, because you're
Because they're
connecting.
like, hey, this guy, well, they don't know this thing. Something like I'm going to my work or whatever, but they're like, well, this is nice. Yeah, it's like, because everybody's kind of grumpy. It's like, well, I gotta go to a study or I gotta go to my work. And then I'm like, hey, and people just love it. And I love it. But it's a small thing. It's really small thing. But it's like, anybody can do that.
I'm laughing, Arnold, because my husband and I play this game, and we call it the good morning game. So if we go for a walk somewhere, we'll say good morning to as many people as we can, and we actually keep tally of who actually says good morning back and who doesn't. And or we'll do like a big smile or things like that. And it's interesting to see who, like, and a lot of people are actually shocked that you acknowledge them. Like, they actually genuinely like, oh gosh, someone's talking to me, but in a nice way. Like, it's very interesting to see people's reactions. Sometimes you get like just as equally cheery back, but it's really interesting to see how you can impact someone's day. And it's almost like the ones that are the most shocked, it's like, oh, someone saw me. And it's more than just the words of good morning, and more, like you said, than just the wave. It's establishing that human connection, right? And elevating your brain, because at the same time you're getting a hit of endorphins because it feels really nice to do that for somebody else, and they're getting a hit of endorphins, and at the same time everyone's happy and your brain's like, "Ooh, I'm receptive to things now."
Absolutely, absolutely. And but like I said, it's something which you can do at any time of the day. So it's like I want people to focus on the small things and not only on the big thing, because they are most of the time disappointed. But it's like there are all these easy things, like you said, opening the door for someone and waving to them or saying good morning to them, or tapping yourself. It's like, hey, Catherine, the interview went really well. You created a great atmosphere. You can do that after a call. It's like, yeah, we don't do those things, but it makes your life more pleasant.
It does. It does. And it's funny, I interviewed someone last week, and he's like, hey, can we connect on WhatsApp? I'm like, yeah, sure. no worries. And anyway, and he sent me this most beautiful, he just sends random happy posts, like just really random things or something you can maybe do to elevate your day. And I wrote back to him and I said, thank you so much for sending that. Like, that was actually really kind of you. And then I figured out that's actually just what he does. So then I started sending him things back. And I don't think he expected that, because I think he's always the one that gives it. And it was just like this really nice reciprocal, interaction, because, in the end, it's like, hey, what can I do to give today without expecting anything in return?
Yeah, absolutely. But the essence is I totally believe that one of the main things why there's so much stress in the world is that
Mm,
people are not seen nor heard.
yeah,
Hmm?
correct.
So if you are someone who sees someone who hears someone, well, first it's a bit strange to them, but after a while they really start to appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah?
agreed. Agreed.
And it doesn't have to be big things. It's like here, there are a couple of in the area where I live, a couple of huge apartment buildings, but there's a that apparently is supposed to become a hotel, but there was nobody for at least a year, and they're now finalizing the construction. So there's a car driver who brings some, well, illegal workers into the building, and then he sits there in his car for most of the day, and that's only he does. So it like, and sometimes he has to go to the do-it-yourself and fetch some equipment or screws or like, and I see that guy and I'm like, this guy is sitting the whole day just in his car. Yeah, so I started having a chat with him. Hmm? And every morning, well, I wave with him because I see him. He's there from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. It's totally crazy. So he's like, that's awful. So that's why I started the chat with him. Eh? Unfortunately, he spoke English, and I waved to him. So last couple of days he was free because of Easter. So this morning I saw him again, and he saw me. He's like, he gave me a hand, and he shook my hand. He's like, yeah, I had to go to sleep and whatever. So he was like, I'm becoming his friend. So it's just a part of seeing and hearing someone, and especially the people in professions which other people is always typical blue collar, simple job, whatever. But it's like, I'm like, this guy is just sitting here lonely his whole day in his car and smoking cigarettes all day, and I'm like, so now I'm sure he sees me as his friend now. Yeah, so it's like
Well,
it's just a small thing where you can acknowledge someone. Yeah, really see someone. Huh?
yeah. And we're all strangers till we're not, right? you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we finish our time together, Arnold, how can people come and find you if they want to connect with you, if they're curious about doing the Brain Train program? How can they find you?
It's to my website. It's called braingym.fitness. Braingym.fitness. There they can find my training program from fitting into flying out. It's a 15-week training program. Well, we have one session together, a 90-minute session with the group. But of course, in the period, the week in between, well, it would help if you do some homework and learn and start to experience things. Yeah. And I also have some master classes. Those are videos of an hour and a half about specific topics like your uniqueness, your curiosity, relationships. Yeah, so those are things which you can find on the website. And if you really want to have a chat with me or you have questions or things are not clear, you can book a meeting, a free meeting with me, and we can talk it over. So that is Brain Gym Fitness.
Beautiful. I'll make sure to include that in the show notes, as well as any ways they can connect with you on social media as well. And as we start to finish our time together as well, Arnold, I asked my guests if they could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Yeah, obviously I've been thinking that continuously. What I would change right now is that people become much more careful in using AI for everything they do.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's funny. These conversations come up about 3 or 4 times just today about using AI. And the most powerful thing I
Oh, really?
heard, yeah, the most powerful thing I heard was when we stop using our emotions, that is when AI becomes an issue because AI cannot have emotions. We are human. Our human experience is to go through emotions and to experience them. And, that that I think is a really powerful thing to remember that, that's what makes us human.
Well, there's even right now they call it artificial emotional intelligence. There already is software where it makes AI showing emotions and connecting with emotions. So there's a lot of things happening, but like anything, there's a dual use. Yeah, you can use it
Mm-hmm.
for good, you can use it for bad. Yeah? But currently, what I see, yeah, from my brain perspective, is like people cannot read anymore, people cannot write anymore. The critical thinking is gone, the creativity is gone, and yeah, that is not what you want. Eh?
No.
What you want is to take back control and think for yourself
Yeah.
rather than have a very advanced software program thinking for you.
Yeah, and I guess that's where it's about, trusting your inner wisdom and your guidance and listening to that inner pull of your soul rather than relying on external sources to make decisions for your life and how your life should look.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Arnold. And I will definitely make sure that in the show notes is all the ways they can get to your brain gym and connect with you. And thank you so much for your time and your insights, as well as how you came about this program. And it's really beautiful.
Thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.